good to be with you today. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or you are watching from home, it's good for all of us to be here together. As we settle into our time of worship this Sunday after Thanksgiving, I offer these words by the Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Timothy Haley, and may they help center our minds and our hearts this morning. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know we are on our pilgrimage here, but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves here now to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth. So come, my friends, come those of you who are gathered here in person and those of you who are gathered with us online, and let's worship together.
Sometimes your life feels like a broken roller coaster, 1,000 useless moving parts. Sometimes you spend your nights too scared of getting closer, hiding out in the backseat of your car. You tell yourself it's raining, the clouds are in your head. You tell yourself it's better to jump before you fall again, before you lose it all again. Look up, do you see the sunlight? Look up, there's flowers in your hair. Hold on, 'cause somebody loves you. You know trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring you to your knees. Look up. Mondays aren't always bright. Some days you lose the fight. But life can be beautiful if you let it be. Tomorrow keeps taunting you with all kinds of mystery. It's a blank page for your poetry if you let it be. So don't tell yourself it's raining, the clouds are in your head. You tell yourself it's better to jump before you fall again, before you lose it all again. Look up, do you see the sunlight? Look up, there's flowers in your hair. Hold on, 'cause somebody loves you. You know trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring you to your knees, yeah, look up. Look up. Oh, hold on. Oh, look up. Look up. Do you see the sunlight? Look up. There's flowers in your hair. Hold on, 'cause somebody loves you. You know trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring you to your knees, yeah, look up. Trouble's always gonna be there, look up. let it bring you to your knees. Look up.
Good morning. The flaming chalice is the symbol of the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the liberal religious tradition to which this congregation belongs. Please rise in body or spirit for the lighting of our chalice. If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to light it with me at this time. Please join me in reciting the words on the screen. As we kindle this flame, we recommit ourselves to the mission of this congregation to build a Unitarian Universalist community that transforms lives and empowers people to serve the world. May the light of this flame be welcoming to all who seek a liberal religious home. You may be seated. Our opening hymn this morning is 347, Gather the Spirit. Michelle will lead us in singing with our masks on. And, yes, sorry. Good morning. I'm Becky Elliott, a worship associate and member of this congregation. If you're visiting us for the first time this morning, either in person or online, I offer you a special welcome. Here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Raleigh, we are intentionally inclusive, liberally religious, and actively serving the common good of our shared world. Whoever you are, and wherever you are on your own religious journey, you are welcome here. As Unitarian Universalists, we seek wisdom and inspiration from many sources, but affirm our own individual and conscience as the best authority for our beliefs. We believe the purpose of religion is to help us live most fully within this lifetime. We are committed to making our world more compassionate and just, and hope you might join one of our many efforts to do so. If you are visiting us for the first time in person and haven't already done so, I invite you to stop by our visitor stand after the service, which is immediately outside the sanctuary doors. If you are visiting us for the first time online, I invite you to fill out the visitor form at uufr.org/visitor form. If you do this, you'll start receiving our weekly e-newsletter. I hope all of you will read through the chalice you received by email on Thursday about everything happening here at UUFR. Let me highlight a few items. As we continue to expand in-person programming, please remember that only fully vaccinated individuals may attend services here in the sanctuary, although families with infants and toddlers may watch the service downstairs in Founders Hall. In addition, everyone over the age of 2, regardless of vaccination status, must wear a mask covering their nose and mouth while they are anywhere inside. Please note, children aged 5 to 11 are now eligible for the vaccine, and previously vaccinated individuals age 18 and older may now receive a booster. Today at noon in room 101 of our next door Peace Hall building, we will be having our monthly Taste of Soul session. This is a program for people curious about chalice circles and soul matters here at UUFR. Chalice Circle facilitators will discuss the idea behind chalice circles and the Soul Matters curriculum. Attendees will have an opportunity to participate in a modified Soul Matters session on this month's theme, Holding History. Please enter Peace Hall from the lower courtyard, and we look forward to seeing you there. And for those of you who have had your taste of soul and are ready for the full experience, or brand new folks who are willing to just jump right in, our next round of Chalice Circles registration is now open. If you are interested in deepening your experience of life and making connections with others, this small group ministry program is great for you. Registration for the next round of Chalice Circles is open through Friday, December 31st. Some groups meet online and others in person, and everyone is welcome. More information about these and many other great activities is available in our Chalice e-newsletter and on our website at uufr.org. For those of you here in person, our social hour this morning will be outside the sanctuary doors in our upper hallway. Please remember to social distance when removing your mask to enjoy your beverages. Since we're not on Zoom and don't have our names below our faces, please also remember to wear your name tag, and the name tag racks are now downstairs in the lower entryway. For everybody online, please feel free to join our online social hour immediately after the service, and there are directions on how to do that on our website. I now invite you to meet and greet each other. As a gentle reminder, out of an abundance of caution, we are refraining for the time being from hugging and shaking hands, but we encourage you to greet one another with a wave, a nod, a fist bump, a warm hello. For everybody at home, please do so using the chat function on your screen.
This is the time in our service when we acknowledge some of the joys and the sorrows of our community. Anyone is invited to email a joy or sorrow to joysandsorrows@uufr.org before 9 a.m. on Sunday, and anyone is also invited to light a candle and fill out one of our cards before the service. And folks at home may also share your joy or sorrow using the chat function on your screen. I'll share some of the joys and sorrows that I've received now. The flowers this morning were done by Mary Jane Clark and were done in honor of Sonia Quinn turning 90 years old. Happy birthday, Sonia. And Tom Hawkins and Sylvia Carter joyfully celebrated their 11th wedding anniversary, November 27th. Reverend Tom Rhodes officiated their wedding in this sanctuary back in 2010, and they had their reception in Founders Hall. The Flower Girl somewhat stole the show. Congratulations, Tom and Sylvia, and may you have many more wonderful years together. And as we reflect on these joys, as well as the joys and sorrows and fears and hopes of our own lives, let's be together now for a time of stillness and silence, opening ourselves up to that spirit within us, between us, and amidst us, called by many names but known to every heart, that leads us toward a fuller experience of life. And after the silence, we will remain seated, and Michelle will lead us in singing hymn number 15, The Lone Wild Bird. But for now, let's be together in stillness and silence.
As we gather this Sunday after Thanksgiving, we are reminded of the words of Debbie Maycumber, who said, "Practicing an attitude of gratitude spills over to acts of generosity." Much of what we do at UUFR to help and care for ourselves, one another, our wider community, and the world that holds and sustains us is only possible because of the generous financial gifts so many of you provide. This morning, instead of passing our collection baskets, if you would like to make a donation, please come forward and leave your donation in one of the baskets up front. It's also possible to give using one of the methods posted on our screen. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you.
Our reading this morning is a poem by the Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Gretchen Haley. The poem is called Surrender to This Life. Give up the fight for some other moment, some other life than here and now. Give up the longing for some other world, the wishing for choices to make, other songs to sing, other bodies, other ages, other countries, other stakes. Purge the past, forgive the future, for each come too soon. Surrender only to this life, this day, this hour, not because it does not constantly break your heart, but because it also beckons with beauty, startles with delight, if only we keep waking up. This is the gift we have been given. These body clothes, this heartbreak, this pulse, this breath, this light, these friends, this hope. Here we remember ourselves, all a part of it, all giving thanks together.
Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks for all that is. Give praise, give praise, give praise, give praise, give praise for all that is. There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give praise now. Say love, say love, say love, say love, say love for all that is. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks for all that is. There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give thanks now. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah for all that is. There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give praise now. There will never ever be another day just like this day, so let's give thanks now. Namaste, 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 namaste for all that is. Namaste, 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 namaste for all that is.
Thank you. my seminary days, when I was still in school preparing to become a minister, someone honored us with a workshop. It was Joanna Macy, an activist and spiritual teacher who has made a considerable contribution to the environmental movement. A true wise woman. In the workshop, we went through many grief and gratitude exercises. Many of my classmates and I were preparing for ministries where justice work would be a strong part of our ministries. And as many of you who maybe work in areas of justice work know, facing the injustices of the world can be painful. The exercises Joanna Macy taught us were intended to help us to tap into things within the human spirit that can help us deal with the pain that sometimes comes with justice work and even just with living lives in this world. The pain that comes with being aware of and having to wrestle with the reality that as beautiful as life can be, there is also much cruelty and needless suffering in our world. One of the exercises was a meditation that I would like to share with you now. And if you would like to try it with me, I invite you to close your eyes and get comfortable in your seat as you listen. And you can also find this meditation in Joanna Macy's book, Coming Back to Life. By the power of our imagination, let's move forward through time, 30 years. And now we've arrived. It's November 28th, 2051. You find yourself in one of your favorite spots. It hasn't changed much, nor have you, essentially. Some of us are pretty long in the teeth by now, but we're still alive. Don't worry too much about figuring out how the world has changed. Just know that major crises that threatened life on Earth have been averted. The weapons have been dismantled, as have the technologies and institutions that polluted and decimated life. Those destructive patterns were so interlocked that the great turning to a sustainable society in the early years of the century happened faster than anyone expected. By now, that transition seems logical and inevitable, so much so that you take it for granted. And as you sit relaxing in this familiar spot, you see approaching you a child of about 8 or 9. She is eager and timid, for she has heard in songs and stories what you and your friends did back then to save the world from disaster. She comes to stand before you, and you listen to the questions she wants to ask you. The first is this: is it true what they say about life back then? Were there really millions and millions of sick and hungry people? And bombs that could blow up whole cities? Could that be so? Breathe deeply and imagine how you answer her. And now she asks you a second question. What was it like for you to live in a world like that? Weren't you sad and scared? Hear your own reply. The child listens carefully. There's one more thing she wants to ask. Where did you and your friends find the strength to do what you did? How did you keep on going? And hear within you how you answer her now. The child is ready now to go back to her friends. As she starts off, she turns back, looks up at you, and says, "Thank you." You watch her go. Now it is time to return to 2021. We go back now to that period when there was still so much to be done, though the great turning had already begun and may have been further along than we thought. So let's breathe deeply as time flows backwards until we return again to 2021. And if you closed your eyes, I invite you to go ahead and open them now. One echo of the future follows us back home here to our own time. It is the child's parting words to us. Thank you. What did you feel when the little girl said those words to you? Maybe joy for the beautiful vision of a better world that can inspire those words? Hope for the possibility that you might one day play a role in the healing of our world? Pain for the gap between the world as it is now and the beautiful world in which the girl lives? Skepticism about whether we'd ever be able to get there? Yearning, fear? What did you feel? And those of us who are online, I invite you to jot a word or two down about what you felt in the chat. And those of you who are here in the room, I invite you to say a word or two about how you felt by speaking them into this space. Longing. So I find that gratitude can be hard at times. It can be hard to accept gratitude when we feel unworthy of it. It can be hard to feel grateful when our lives are hard or when something feels like it's missing from our lives, such as when we've lost someone we love or our loved ones are far away. And it can be hard to feel grateful when we are aware of all of the ways that our world is hurting. And sometimes gratitude can feel hard when we do not feel capable of overcoming the challenges that we face. And this past Thursday, many of us paused to offer some words of thanks on Thanksgiving. At least I hope we did. But some also, or instead, took time to mark the day of mourning, remembering the lives lost and the lands stolen from indigenous people in this nation, and the ways this country still harms First Nations people today. When we are aware of the history, current events, and complexities of life on this land where we just gathered to break bread, gratitude may not come all that easily all the time. Perhaps like me, you were worried this Thanksgiving about the continuing pandemic, about friends far away, about climate change, your ability to pay your bills, or whether our homeless neighbors will be able to stay warm this coming winter. I saw a meme on Facebook where people were giving, a Black family gathered around the Thanksgiving table was giving thanks for photo evidence, for camera evidence. Things like this can make it hard sometimes to feel grateful. They can even make us feel bitter, or at best, maybe bittersweet. Now, I don't know what helps you in those kinds of times, but when I start to find myself sinking into despair, Joanna Macy's meditation comes back to me. That vision of a more peaceful, compassionate, sustainable world really grips my heart. And the idea that some of us who are alive today and now might be able to help shape that world fires me up. What if we really can make choices that will give our descendants reasons to thank us rather than condemn us? What if we really do find the strength as a people to confront our challenges and make our lives and our world better? What could be possible. The meditation's child and her world alike may never be born. We are at a tipping point in our history, and recent events keep proving over and over again that we have the ability and the willingness as a species to create a far less sustainable, less welcoming, and less peaceful world. But despite that lack of certainty that the child and her world will ever exist, there is still great power in gratitude. Her words of thanks have the power to comfort us with hope and activate us for change. Gratitude is this incredibly powerful thing. It may not seem that way sometimes, when counting our blessings doesn't somehow magically rid us of our curses. But gratitude can be super powerful. It's not simply a virtue or a spiritual practice or a mind exercise. It's also subversive. Gratitude is an antidote to some of the very forces that are threatening life on this planet, and gratitude is also a remedy to some of the things in our lives that are damaging our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. I recently saw a cartoon that illustrates the forces that are threatening life. In the cartoon, there's a smiling teacher who says to a classroom full of kids, "Children, today we are going to learn code. It's an important skill for a prosperous future." And a concerned student raises her hand and replies, "Teacher, after that, could we learn how to survive in a civilization threatened by ecosystem collapse, rising sea levels and the resulting geopolitical turmoil, armed conflict, and the increasing polarization of ideological orientations, and humanity's seemingly insatiable appetite for stuff?" I firmly believe that gratitude can help us to survive in body, heart, mind, and spirit, but only if we use it properly as a tool to subvert the forces of consumerism that dominate our society and threaten our world, as a tool to counter and maybe even heal from the constant social pressure to produce and to acquire so we can feel better about ourselves and our lives. But I need to be clear about the kind of gratitude that I'm not encouraging us toward today. All too often, we are seduced into embracing a poisonous form of gratitude. This toxic gratitude mislabels demands for basic rights as whining, as entitlement, as handouts, and cruelly tells people who are struggling to shut up and count their blessings. We force-feed people toxic gratitude when we tell workers who need better jobs in order to feed their families in an ever more expensive society to be grateful for the unsustainable jobs that they have been offered, to be thankful that companies are giving them opportunities to work, and to stop complaining that the work isn't enough to cover the bills. That isn't gratitude, but a stifling of valid concerns. It's a tiny little Band-Aid, not a remedy. But there is a different kind of gratitude. It is the gratitude that Joanna Macy talks about when she describes gratitude as revolutionary, liberating, and subversive. Gratitude subverts destructive messages in our society. Our society continually tells us that we have little or no worth unless we are productive, that we cannot be successful unless we are constantly working. And our society tells us that those who are not successful according to this very narrow view are lazy, stupid, or somehow to blame for their situation. But gratitude, on the other hand, tells us that every human being is a beautiful blessing. Every single person is already a gift to be cherished, for our inherent worth and dignity, not because of what we produce. Gratitude reminds us to stop and praise people and ourselves for simply existing in all of the beautiful ways that we do. Our society tells us that being successful not only means constantly working to produce more and more, but that being successful also means having more and more stuff. And gratitude interrupts this poisonous message. It reminds us of the things we should truly be grateful for, not conspicuous wealth that we are encouraged to pursue in our lives, not luxuries we don't need, but the things that really do help us to survive and thrive. Gratitude reminds us that true success is not owning a nice house or car. It's not having the money to put 3 kids through college. True success is measured by our capacity to notice with gratitude the blessings of life. And when we have the energy to do so and the ability to use those blessings to transform life into an even greater blessing for all. We are successful to the degree to which we use gratitude to help us really love the hell out of this world. Gratitude can help us to protect the things for which we're grateful and find ways to ensure that everybody on this planet has them in abundance. We are successful as a community when our awareness of our blessings moves us to use them to create a more just, lovable, and sustainable world for everybody. And our society tells us that to have conspicuous wealth, which we should, according to this other view, possess in order to be successful, that we must continually work harder and faster and longer and smarter, never rest. And even during the pandemic, when some of us maybe saw an opportunity to slow our lives down a little bit, not all of us though, even then, we were force-fed this toxic message. Use the time to catch up on housework, renovate that room, try a new hobby, learn a new skill, get ahead on that project. We were told, and maybe we even told ourselves that and told one another that. And mind you, there is nothing at all wrong with pursuing any of these when it springs from a place within you of deep joy and a genuine desire to do them. But if we pursue them only because we feel that we must constantly be working on ourselves, constantly striving, that is what is harmful. Gratitude reminds us that we and those around us already have many gifts and capacities of great worth, gifts and capacities that we should take the time to acknowledge and appreciate. We don't need to constantly treat ourselves as projects in desperate need of work. And when we choose to learn new things or offer our talents, gratitude helps us do so out of a sense of self-trust and self-appreciation, not a sense of inadequacy or self-doubt. And finally, our society tells us that human exploitation and the devastation of the earth are necessary and even acceptable consequences of the pursuit of ever more money and ever more stuff. But gratitude reminds us that our fellow human beings and the earth have already given us much for which we ought to be thankful. Water and food and sunlight, love and community, support through tough times in our lives, and their wisdom. Gratitude reminds us that appreciating earth and our fellow beings means respecting and protecting them, having their back when times get hard, not using them up and discarding them as worthless when they have no more productive value. These are just some of the many gifts that are not of our making that enrich our lives. The sunlight pouring down upon us, this world teeming with life, food, friends, family, pets that enrich your lives, good hobbies, the capacities of your own mind and your heart. Opportunities like this to come together and exchange thoughts with one another. Opportunities to, when we need to, come together to grieve and to help each other through hard times. All of these are things that can enrich our lives. These gifts can be a source of strength in helping us cope with challenges in our lives and create a better world. We can freely choose to take these gifts in hand. May we find them to be blessings as we move through life. And may we offer them as blessings to the world, as blessings for which future generations will say to us, "Thank you." Now, please rise and body your spirit for our closing hymn. It's number 21, "For the Beauty of the Earth." Please be seated. It is time now to bring our time of worship to a close, but as we extinguish this chalice flame, its light will continue to burn in our hearts. As we go out into our daily lives, let's remember the words of the Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Maureen Killeron. As we weather winds of change, may we have the wisdom to cherish moments of stillness. As we recollect times of challenge and pain, may we remember also the graceful blessings of our lives. As we look to future unknowns, may we have the boldness to trust that there is unimagined good yet to come. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.